Morning, everyone. I'm your host, Joselito Sescon from the Institute of Philippine Culture, as well as from the Department of Economics here in Ateneo de Manila University. Um, well, this is welcome to the installment of the Global Mindanao and Maritime Southeast Asia Philippine Ties to Cosmopolitan Region lecture series of the Ateneo School of Social Sciences and the Institute of Philippine Culture. Before I proceed to introduce our speaker, let me welcome our students from Ateneo de Manila University and probably students from also from Mindanao, particularly from Zamboanga City, Ateneo de Zamboanga, and probably from the Mindanao State University network of university in Mindanao. Hopefully, there are some in the audience. Welcome to our seminar series. Okay, before I will introduce our speaker today. We are glad to have with us to give the lecture on the Sulu claim on Sabah and the perspectives of local population in the east coast of Sabah, Malaysia. We are very fortunate to be joined by Diana Peters. Diana Peters is a senior lecturer attached to the international program at the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, University Malaysia, Sabah. She obtained her first degree in political science from Case Western University, Ohio, USA, before pursuing her master's degree at University Kebangsaan, Malaysia, in the field of strategy and diplomacy. Over the years, she has taught several courses, such as foreign policy analysis and history of diplomacy, as well as an elective course on American foreign policy. Her research area covers security issues in Sabah, particularly undocumented or irregular migrants. She has co-authored several articles as well as co-edited a book entitled Holistic Development and Security for ESSGO NE or ESZUN 2019. And latest chapter in a book was Growth and Distribution of Non-Citizen Population in Demographic and Socioeconomic Changes in Sabah 2021, edited by Tenang Peng, Lao Shun Lee, and Jennifer Chan Kim Lian. She is currently involved in a research project on irregular migrants in Sabah. Please join me in welcoming Diana Peters. Diana?
Thank you very much for having me today. Good morning, everyone. Just as we were about to start just now, I was unceremoniously evicted from the line. So my line here is very unstable, but I'm so happy to be here today to be sharing what research that we had obtained. So a little background that this is a pilot research that we did to find out what the local perceptions were, especially at the east coast of Sabah, specifically coming into the 10 years of the Lahadatu incursion. So this is a very rough, a very unrefined yet data analysis that I will be sharing with you today. And I will welcome any questions that you may have after my lecture. So to ensure that I don't get logged out again, I hope that the audience do not mind that I turn my camera off, just to ensure that there is a smooth presentation after this. So bear with me, yeah? So good morning again, and thank you, everybody.
Hi.
So,
Hi, Diana. You have to share your presentation.
oh,
Okay.
one moment.
There you go.
Thank you so much for reminding me. I do apologize also that some of the data, because as I said, it was unrefined, Some of the figures may be a little minute for you to see, but yeah, you just raise your hands if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to just explain them to you. So the title for my presentation today is Security Implications of the Sulu Claim on Sabah, Perspectives from the East Coast. We reflect on a decade that has passed since the Lahadatu incursion, the period that was marked by both resilience and recovery for Sabah. In the intervening years since that tumultuous time, Sabah has not only rebounded, but has also thrived in this state of adversity. My focus this morning shifts to the local populace of Sabah's East Coast, a community that has shown remarkable fortitude over the past 10 years. And we seek to understand the enduring legacy of the incursion on their daily lives and the complex dynamics at play in the region, rich with cultural and social ties to the Philippines. Though the memories of the conflict remain, they coexist with stories of growth and adaptation. And our team has engaged in an extensive survey centered on East Sabah Security Zone or S Zone, which covers 10 districts, to capture the current sentiment of those that were affected by the events of 2013. We expanded our research to also encompass Kota Kinabalu, where the dialogue on statelessness and migrant documentation continues to stir debate and also policy consideration within this state. So a brief outline of how this presentation will go today. First, I will provide an overview of the incident of 2013. Then I will move to the geographical location and connections between Sabah and Southern Philippines. Next, to proceed on the human security aspects amidst migration and conflict in Sabah. And for this, I will focus on both personal and economic security for both irregular migrants or migrants, as well as for local populations. Then I will proceed to the findings in which we got. First of all, concentrating on security concerns of local population on East Coast, their economic security, their defense concerns, and their views about the permanent representation. This will be substantiated with comparisons of Indonesia and Philippines representations in the state of Sabah. Finally, I will end with a need for a permanent solution in hopes of finding or establishing one common ground in which we will hopefully obtain a win-win situation for both state and country. The second is to address this overcome of neglect, particularly for irregular migrant Filipinos in the state. And finally, to strengthen human security aspects for both irregular migrants as well as for local population. So a little overview of what happened in 2013. So in 2013, there was incursion by a group of men who referred to themselves as the Royal Army of Sulu Sultanate, landed at about February the 9th. And in an exchange of fire and of course casualty that lasted for about a month, this group was successfully detained. Unfortunately, there was loss of lives on both sides, and there was also trauma and after effects experienced by villages situated in that area. So the immediate aftermath from this incursion was the establishment of the Eastern Sabah Security Command, known as ESCOM, and the Eastern Sabah Security Zone, which includes 10 districts, all 10 districts located along the east coast of Sabah. There were also long-term implications for local population, regional politics, and bilateral relations between Malaysia and the Philippines, which I'm sure there is in abundance online and from news media outlets. So the state of Sabah holds a multifaceted demographic tapestry. According to Aziza Kasim, 2009, Filipinos in Sabah can officially be classified into three categories: refugees, those who are fled from the conflict that was happening in the 1970s; economic migrants, those who came into the state after the 1980s, primarily due to economic development in Sabah and in Malaysia overall. And finally, illegal immigrants, those who came in legally but did not have probably the financial means or the avenue in which to renew their legal documentation. So this rendered them as illegal immigrants, meaning they're not legally supposed to be in this country. Moreover, Wan Shawaluddin Wan Hassan and others contended that irregular migrants are foreign nationals who enter the country through legal ways but overstayed, or those who slipped in the country through illegal channel, or foreign workers who work without permit. While there is no official figure released on how many illegal immigrants or undocumented workers we have in the state, the guesstimate by state and researchers are between 800,000 to 1.1 million undocumented or illegal immigrants. And this was as posted by our state newspaper, Daily Express, on the 16th of April, 2023. The distance between Sabah and southern Philippines especially is ridiculously close. And it is not just reflected in geographical proximity, but also through historical ties, familial ties as well. Sabah's location makes it strategic area of interest for both Malaysia and the Philippines, and there is definitely massive need for collaboration to ensure security and economic development for both sides of the region. That is the purpose for the establishment of PMIEGA. That's the purpose of the support given to barter trade activities between ports in Sabah as well as those going to the Philippines. So this the current situation in which we have a number of irregular migrants in the state, this concept of human security is being used to study how we can address the situation. So in Sabah, where the presence of undocumented migrants, including Filipinos, is a long-standing reality, these aspects of human security become significantly acute. The Lahadatu incursion, the stark reminder that potential of conflict inflamed by territorial disputes, underscores the vulnerability of both migrants and for locals. Undocumented individuals may find themselves inadvertently connected to such conflicts due to their lack of formal status, exacerbating tensions and complicating the efforts for peaceful resolution. So in this light, the imperative for documentation becomes clear. It is not merely a bureaucratic formality, but a foundational step towards ensuring that safety and stability of all residents in the state. And a documented status can help disentangle migrants from historical and ongoing geopolitical tensions, allowing them to emerge from the shadows and contribute to the region's security and prosperity. So this pilot study was done late 2022 and early 2023. And the purpose was, as I had mentioned earlier, to uncover the local perceptions, particularly those residing in the East Coast, in terms of their security 10 years after Lahadatu incursions. So the area that is shaded a darker a darker blue, I guess, covers 10 districts of Kudat, Kota Marudu, Pitas, Beluran, Sindakan, Kinabatangan, Lahadatu, Tawau, and Semporna. The districts listed from number 2 until 11 are those districts under the Eastern Command Security Zone, S Zone, that was launched by Prime Minister Najib Razak on 25th March 2013. In our comparative analysis, we had also included detailed findings from Kota Kinabalu as well, as the state capital and central administrative hub for Sabah, and it plays a pivotal role in policy making and governance. So by
Sorry, Diana, to intrude. Are you moving your slide? Because the slide it still remains at human security amidst migration and conflict in Sabah.
Oh yes, I have moved.
Okay. Can we? You have moved your slide? I don't know the audience. I can only see the human security amidst migration. Probably you can share. You can unshare and share again. Okay.
Yeah, sure. All right. Is it on findings on the ground?
Oh, we can't see it yet. Has started sharing. Double click to enter full screen mode. Not sure. Joko, can you see it?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's nothing on my side. 1 second, stop sharing again.
There you go. Findings on the ground.
All right, thank you. Thank you for letting me know on that.
No
Okay,
worries.
so the total respondents that we got from these 10 plus 1 areas or districts is 619. And we, as I said just now, did it late 2022 and early 2023. So this first slide represents the breakdown of ethnic groups in Sabah who were our respondents. We interviewed only local Malaysian population from each area, and among the top 4 respondents, we had Bajau Suluks. KDM stands for the Kadazan Dusun Murut. This is the prominent ethnic group that is in Kota Kinabalu. Second would be the Malays, followed by Bugis and by the Chinese. So on the far right, under the heading of kumpulan ethnic groups, these are all the ethnic groups that is listed down alphabetically, and they are also indicated in ascending order on the graph. So number 1 would be Bajau Sama. Bajau Suluk in the orange would be 176 respondents, followed by Banjar, 3 respondents, and then Bidayu, 1, 7 from Bisaya, and Bolongan 2, and so on and so forth. So this was the number of respondents that we collected. The respondents range from age 19 to 60 years old. And as I said, they were all Malaysian nationals. So the first slide on security concerns in east coast of Sabah. The first graph will look at respondents' answer to government must curb the presence of Filipino in Sabah, while the slide that were to follow after that would be on Filipino refugees should be sent back to their country of origin. So in this first slide on government should curb or restrain the entrance of Filipino migrants into Sabah, our investigation sought to understand these local perspectives on the presence of Filipino nationals. To this end, the respondents were asked whether the government should restrict the entry into the state. The chart shown now highlights responses from the top 5 districts, which is Kota Kinabalu, Lahad Datu, Sandakan, Semporna, and Tawau. It is important to note that the last 4 of these districts, which is Lahad Datu, Sandakan, Semporna, and Tawau, serve as major entry points for illegal migrants into Sabah. So what the data reveals is a consensus across all districts, with the majority indicating agreement that government should restrict the entrance. So we used the Likert scale, 1 being strongly disagree, 2 disagree, 3 undecided, 4 strongly agree, and 4 is agree, and 5 is strongly agree. So in most of these districts, everybody had a majority for strongly agree and agree. However, Sandakan stands out with a noteworthy divergence. Nearly a quarter of the respondents, or 23%, indicating values of 1 and 2, which was disagree, and they do not support further restrictions. This is attributed to the recognized contribution of Filipino migrant workers to the local economy. Many Sandakan locals acknowledge the economic benefits of having that these migrants bring, demonstrating a more nuanced view towards the presence of Filipino nationals in these districts. This finding also underscores the complexity of local attitudes toward migrants and the need to balance security concerns with economic realities. This next slide illustrates the responses to the proposition that Filipino refugees should be sent back to their country of origin. And once more, we observe an overwhelming concurrence among the 5 districts surveyed, with a dominating majority endorsing this stance. Yet, in the case of Sandakan again, a distinct pattern emerges. Despite the general trend, 22% of the respondents in Sandakan were in opposition, believing that Filipino refugees should not be repatriated. This percentage, though a minority, is significant and indicates a divergent viewpoint from within the district. This pattern in Sandakan could suggest a community-level recognition of the humanitarian aspects or the contributions of migrant populations. It may also reflect a deeper socio-economic integration of Filipino migrants in the local context, contrasting with the broader sentiment favoring their return to the Philippines. The nuances captured in these responses highlight the complexity of public opinion regarding Filipino refugees in Sabah, underscoring the necessity for a considered approach that takes into account the varied perspectives within the community. Next would be economic security and concerns. And for this, the slide on chart 3, with the statement that Sabah needs to cease barter trade activities with the southern Philippines. Now, building upon the insights from the previous two slides, Chart 3 presented respondents with another critical statement: Sabah needs to cease barter trade activities with the southern Philippines. To contextualize its importance, it is important to take note that Sandakan, Tawau, and Kudat are the three main ports that have been designated for barter trading. So at first glance, the chart suggests a unanimous sentiment across all 10 plus 1 districts in favor of halting barter trade. However, a closer analysis reveals a more nuanced view in the districts where barter trade is a significant economic activity. In Kudat, Semporna, and Tawau, there was a notable proportion of undecided responses, indicated by a middle ground value of 3 on the Likert scale. This ambivalence reflects the complexities and possibly the economic dependencies tied between the district to barter trading. Contrastingly, Sandakan stood out with a higher frequency of dissenting opinions, signaling the resistance to the cessation of barter trade. This diversion in Sandakan, coupled with indecision observed in other port districts, underscores the integral role and the value that these trading activities hold within their respective district. It highlights how barter trade is woven into economics and social fabric. It was also highlighted in the article by Chan and Rostika that the closure of the barter trade in Sandakan following Tanduo 2013 resulted in a loss of income for states, Sabah port revenue, butter, sugar, and cigarette estimated at $7 million. At that time, Sandakan town businesses had been reduced to 50% and 15% of shops in the town were forced to close. There was loss of employment at various sectors and closure of retail and textile shops, coffee shops, spare parts, as well as money changes. And this was well before pandemic occurred. So aside from barter trade, certain agriculture and maritime sectors in the East Coast were also high contributors in the state's economy, like palm oil in Sandakan, Lahadatu, and maritime and aquaculture in Semporna. The next slide looks at the role played by the Eastern Sabah Security Command, in which our sequence engages with their role in safeguarding the east coast of Sabah. So the fourth chart in the sequence reflects a consensus across all surveyed districts that ESCOM has effectively reduced illegal activities across maritime borders, underscoring its significance and in regional security. Despite this overall positive view, there remains a recognition among the public of the persisting vulnerabilities along the East Coast, indicating that while ESCOM's efforts are noteworthy, they are not panache and further measures may be required to address remaining security gaps. Notably, Tawau and Sandakan provided distinct responses compared to other districts. In Tawau, there was a notable leaning towards neutrality, suggesting a more measured assessment of ESCOM's impact, or perhaps a reflection of less direct benefit perceived by the residents. In Sandakan, the data revealed a greater degree of skepticism or dissatisfaction with ESCOM's presence, hinting at local concerns of or differing experiences with security measures in place. These variations in perception highlight the complex and localized nature of security and community relations with ESCOM, pointing to the need for nuanced approaches that consider the specific context and concerns for each district. Finally is permanent representation, where the question is, Philippines should open a consulate to facilitate administration of their nationals in Sabah. Sorry. Sorry, I was trying to enlarge the chart, but it wouldn't cooperate. So finally, as we presented the statement on the establishment of a Philippine consulate, the response was unanimously positive across all districts, reflecting again the consensus on the benefits of such a diplomatic presence. Respondents clearly believe that a consulate would improve the management of documentation of Filipino nationals in the state, and also signaling the importance placed on structured immigration process, accurate data within the area. So when comparing Indonesia's, the presence of Indonesia consulate in Sabah, Indonesia has established 2 consulate offices in Tawau and Kota Kinabalu, which provides comprehensive support to Indonesian nationals, including documentation, legal aid, community support. The consulates actively support not only Indonesian workers in various sectors, such as plantation, but also ensure their children have access to education, maintain cultural and national links with Indonesia. So this next slide is the Community Learning Center established by Indonesia some 15 years ago. It celebrated its 15-year establishment in 2023. It is an alternative education targeted at Indonesian population at palm oil plantations. It has, though, a main branch located in Kota Kinabalu called the Sekolah Indonesia, Kota Kinabalu. Comparing the Indonesian consulate presence in Sabah with the Philippine Embassy's special consular mission reveal a striking difference. Notably, the incidence of expired documentation, thereby giving illegal status, is significantly lower among Indonesian. This is attributed to the proactive measures by Indonesia, including the establishment of CLCs. So in 2022, and this was a picture or an image taken from the the Philippine Embassy in Kuala Lumpur. In contrast, the periodic nature of Philippine Special Consular Mission limits its capacity to process necessary documentation efficiently, often resulting in overcrowded centers and unmet needs. Filipino minors in Sabah face a disparity in educational opportunities, lacking access to the consistent and formal education available to their Indonesian counterparts. So this comparison underscores the critical impact of diplomatic presence and provision of educational services for migrant community. So this was a picture of taken back in 2017, which was before the pandemic occurred, and this was about 500 people waiting outside one of the multiple halls in Kota Kinabalu. The the missions, when they come down, what I need to understand is they will be within the state for about 4 to 5 days, and they will process to about between 500 to about 1,000 documentations for their national. And this is I guess probably not able to cater to all nationals, Filipino nationals within the state. So this is a newspaper clipping from February 20th this year, 2024, in which embassy in Kuala Lumpur, Philippines Embassy in Kuala Lumpur, is now having plans to register 550 Filipinos in the state this year. Interestingly, the picture on the right, suspect in brazen KK assault held, is of a Filipino national, though he is without documentation. So this was the front page news in Sabah just this month. So the need for a permanent solution. So recommendations for establishing a permanent office, a permanent documentation office. We are aware that there is a lot of political sensitivity in opening a consulate, but perhaps we could think in the line of what the office when we do with Taiwan, in which we open an office of friendly relations for the purpose of providing documentation facilities to make it more consistent and accessible services for all Filipino nationals. And this is to address the backlog and the demand effectively. So the establishment of such an office would address 3 critical areas, which is bilateral harmony between the two, in which we would foster common ground and mutual benefits for both the state of Sabah and the Philippines, because we acknowledge, and even the respondents acknowledge, that migrant workers from Philippines have been contributing positively to economic development. Secondly, is to prevent neglect by offering consistent services. The office would mitigate the current oversight of Filipino national needs, ensuring that their presence and contribution are acknowledged and valued. And finally, the protection of human rights, most importantly, to prioritize the safeguarding of the individual rights of Filipinos in Sabah, ensuring that they are treated with dignity and respect in accordance with international human rights and standards, and to ensure that they also have access to facilities, basic facilities, while they are in the state in Sabah, for example, health, education, and whatnot. So to conclude, the presentation highlighted the current challenges and the crucial role of documentation in bridging these relations between Sabah, Malaysia, and Philippines. The comparison with Indonesia was just to highlight the benefits that Filipino nationals would also receive with establishment of some sort of documentation center by the Philippines within the state. We examined the concept of human security and its significance in addressing the needs of undocumented migrants and the local population, advocating for a more holistic approach to security, which includes proper documentation. And as we mentioned before, our recommendation was an establishment of a permanent Philippine documentation office in Sabah as a step towards enhancing bilateral relations, improving human security on both sides, and ensuring the well-being of both Filipinos and the local Malaysian population. With that, I conclude my presentation for today. These are the list of references that I had used. I thank you very much for everyone's attention, and I welcome any questions that you may have.